athletes also had no work. You couldn't train, there were no competitions. Sasa basi hapo ndio ulianza kufanya kazi ya digital. Ulifanya kazi ya digital wapi? How did you enter into this program? Vipi wewe mlemavu mwanariadha unafanya kazi ya digital? What's the combination and what are you currently doing? Zinaingiana vipi?
So I'm a teacher by profession, and during COVID, and I'm also athletic. So during COVID, those both careers were dominant. We were doing nothing. You know, when your body is used to you are being used to being active all the time, and then all of a sudden you're not doing anything. You're just there. Your body kind of being like fatigued all the time and all those stuff. So I was going through my phone and I saw this portal. It's an eye-to-eye portal where job seekers with disabilities get to meet employers who want employees with disabilities. So I enter in the portal and I sign in with my disability ID card, and there was this company called Stepwise, and it highly encouraged persons with disability to apply, and it was all about data entry. So I applied, and next I get a call. You can come to the High Court and do the work. So what we were doing there at High Court, we were basically digitalizing court information so that anyone from nowhere, like say you've got a case, you don't need to travel. Let's say your case is in Mombasa and you're in Lodwar. You don't need to go to Mombasa and know who will be your judge, when will be your case. You just have to have your case number, enter your details in any cyber, and then you get to have all that information. So that's what we've been doing. And that was data entry in terms of the digitalization. Yeah.
Okay. So Your Excellency, your government has provided opportunities for youth and continues to have scope to expand, to employ many more youth, especially people with disability. I remember interacting with quite a number of young people with disability and saying, "Mbona msituone hivi? Akili bado iko contact, iko intact. Kwa hivyo mtupe kazi, sio lazima mtuone kazi tunaweza kufanya." And Stepwise is one of the organizations that has benefited from the Ajira digital program. They have done a lot of work and employed a lot of youth, and beyond the program, then they have skills that give them opportunities for decent and sustainable livelihoods. I'd like to ask a question to George Washuri, who's perhaps one of the biggest supporters of the Ajira digital program. The youth that you got from this program who have done different things within your organization, he is the CEO of Optiven, and this is not the opportunity to sell broti. But what has your experience getting youth who are digitally savvy and who are ready to work? Just the opportunities have not been available.
Wow, I would say that all protocols observed. Thank you to see the Deputy President coming for this event for Kenya Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Accelerator program. And I remember the first time we started was very exciting, and Optiven we were able to pick about 30, which we mentored. And what I've discovered is that these young people, they were very energetic, they were easy to train, and we were able to train them, and especially on the area of digital. That's the first time we hired from the team, we hired our digital manager, who is also pushed by KEPSA, and he's here, Bonnie. He was our mentee. And it's very exciting that for private sector to open up for the young people and to come to our offices and work with us, it gives them some kind of confidence. And maybe I take this opportunity because I have a mic to appeal to the entire private sector, including Optiven, that we can be able to take only one. We are about 1.7 million companies. So if you only take one, 1.7 million youth will have somewhere to go to in the morning and work and get experience. If we only get 10, only 10, for us Optiven, we take 30 every 3 months. 30. We just graduated cohort 17. And we're now taking another 30 for 3 months. And we train them. If all of us, we only take 10, we'll give opportunity to 17 million youth. That means we shall import from Uganda, from Tanzania. And this is my humble appeal. For the sake of the government can support private sector, especially the 1.7 million formal companies, but more so 5.3 million informal companies by giving them a platform to do business. Maybe the government can say, if you have newly registered company and you're hiring 15 youth for 3 years, no tax. But after 3 years, provide your books so that we are able now to pay tax. That way, the 5.3 million business people who are hiding, they will come up, they grow, and they become like Optiven. That way, we sort out the issue of unemployment with our youth. It is possible, it is doable. It's happening at Optiven, it can happen to all the registered companies in Kenya. And once again, KEPSA, you're doing a good job, and I'm so happy to see the government is supporting this program. And for us, we are there to support the government. We also run a foundation, Optiven Foundation, that also have got many programs for the physically challenged, many programs for the cerebral palsy cases, many scholarships that we do across 47 counties. And this is not my time, I put a comma, and my name is George Washiri, working for Optiven. I'm also the trustee for Optiven Foundation. Of course, I'll be waiting for the drought issues. We've been supporting various counties to support food distribution. God bless you, George Washiri, Optiven.
Thank you, George. As we close the panel, we'll take final words from you on youth and youth employment, what you see the low-hanging fruits in terms of opportunities. I will start with you, Beatrice, Liod, Nuru, Vincent, and then Asia.
On my final words, I'd really just love to say two things. I, as a youth, train me and guide me. I may have an opportunity to be an entrepreneur, I myself, but I don't have that training. Maybe I have that finance, my business will go to drain because I have no training. Yes, give me that training. Give us that training as youths. That's only what I'd really, really want to say. Yes, don't give us those small stipends because that will not last me long. Teach me how to fish, but don't give me that fish.
Sorry, I'd like to use the same words that were used by Mr. Ashori, is to encourage businesses, especially those in the room, is to give young people an opportunity. If I was not given that opportunity through the Kenya Youth Empowerment Program to intern, I would not have had an opportunity to grow my skills and to be where I am today at the workplace. So I think there are a lot of young people who are looking for opportunities. Some of them are very skilled. Some of them have the capacity. Them how to write good CVs, but just don't judge them from that. Give someone an opportunity to come and prove themselves, and then you'll have changed lives. Thank you.
Sorry. Alone, I'll go far, but together we'll go further. And just to echo what Mr. Washuri said, if every corporate could actually take into consideration in their CSR budget to think of the vulnerable youth, to think of the children in the informal settlements, we have dedicated ourselves as Little Innovator School, together with our training partners, Tech Kids Africa. We are also trying to partner with so many organizations in Kenya to build capacity. We are ready to thrust ourselves in the field and make sure that African youth are enabled to be employment creators, not just for Kenya, but for Africa and the entire world. We envision Africa to be a tech hub and first world in tech innovations by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My parting words, I'd like to quote the famous a quote from Mr. John Sakwa Bunyasi, and I'm sure Waziri knows him. He said that afadhali kumfundisha mtu kuvua samaki ili mwenyewe ajitegemee, si ndio? So I want to urge the government, all protocols, all CEO here. You see these young people here, they are the pioneers, and they are the people who have been chosen to come to launch this project. Take them, work with them, mentor them, because it's as people who want to live legacy, one of the best thing you could do is to mentor someone to leave a legacy, so that one time I will sit here and say, Waziri mentored me, Waziri helped me, so that as I sit in that office, I will also think of other person there, so that we work as people of this country. Thank you so much.
I don't have quotes, any quotes, but I will tell Waziri wa sports, and just take a look in the para sports. We are really struggling there in all disciplines, and things are not looking good for us. As you know, hii ni club ambayo anyone can join anytime, anyhow. So for the future, upcoming athletes, we need your support in there. And for Mr. Vice President, we really need you to look also upon us in terms of jobs opportunity. You know, we've got so many women, persons living with disabilities, and youth. We are all not, we may not all be good in education, but we've got other things that we can do better, and especially in my community, kazi tunaweza. Tunaweza sana. With you pamoja, vitu zitakuwa sawa. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Beatrice, Leod, Nuru, Vincent, and Asiya.
Over the years, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the apex body of the private sector in Kenya, has been supporting businesses with opportunities for training, networking, financial linkages, mentorship and coaching, as well as access to markets, value chains, and access to investment opportunities inbound.
I think I was asked to stand on the protocols observed. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So before you today, you have the basically KEPSA, which is the apex body of all private sector. and I was sharing the list with you. I think we are over, I think, 1 million, because it's basically associations that join KEPSA. So we were formed as the voice of the private sector to partner with government around policy making, investments into and out of the country, and to deal with socio-economic programs with the government, such as, you know, the SMEs, climate change, youth, just to mention a few. I'm just remembering that during the COVID time, we quickly worked very closely with the government to come out with COVID protocols. And both of us agree that had we not had each other, it would have been, you know, quite something. So our mission is to ensure year-on-year improvement in the overall business environment in Kenya by working together with government and other stakeholders. So we have sector boards that mirror the government. So we have somebody in youth and sports, of course. We're going to be reorganizing ourselves. The EAC community. So quickly, by just so that he can meet you, well, just see who we are. Could we have the sector board leaders in the room just stand up? In the interest of time, I will not be able to call you one by one. But I can see James Mureo. So basically, those are the sector board leaders. And what we do is they will be very close to the CSs, meeting monthly, to really discuss issues, prioritize what they are going to help, so, because we believe very strongly in private-public partnership. Thank you very much. And actually, allow me also to ask my board to quickly stand up. So the board actually they belong to the ones. So they are the board members. Anybody in leadership, foundation. So you could see KEPSA is quite a broad organization. Thank you very much. So of course, Your Excellency, it is no secret that one of the most urgent needs facing the country today is actually the drought and the youth employment. Two socio-economic issues that we felt the need to prioritize as we wait to sit with your new government and really interact with the new manifesto. We want to play our role to ensure private sector delivers on jobs and revenue creation. And you will hear more about that from our CEO, Caro, who will be speaking after. So as a youth, and this is an era I remember very fondly, there was an emphasis on employment. And some of you will remember this song, and now here I'm selling my age, that used to say, so many vijana, mwisho wa kusoma, mutapata kazi mzuri. And this is really what made us work. You know, if you brought a report home, even your parents would be like, what are you expecting? What are you going to do? But today, with the economy plagued with freezing hires and struggling corporate earnings, a staggering 5.3 million, which is almost 40% of the 13.7 well-educated Kenyans, aged between 18 and 24 years, qualified to work in the Kenyan market, are unemployed. The promise of good education and a path to job creation, to job opportunities, grows dim for these people day by day. Therefore, a lot of them, we must say, and you saw it here, will be forced into into self-employment, if nothing else. I personally became an entrepreneur almost straight out of college, but for me it was the opposite. I had to explain every time I go to pitch what I'm doing, which is my Melvin's tea. They would say, can we give you a job? What is the problem? Did you fail in school? And now the table has turned completely. So the good news is today, though, entrepreneurship has become the norm. It is celebrated. It is not something that we shun like we were doing during my days. Therefore, it is of paramount importance and our duty to support entrepreneurs to navigate the field of unemployment towards a quick scaling up of their businesses, to scale up on the global stage. We do not want to have so many entrepreneurs that remain completely here. And you heard them saying some are below the threshold. They want to hide and remain small. So for Kenya to deliver on the 2030 goal, to become a middle-income country by 2030, which is something we said, the goal not only requires uninterrupted growth of 10% per year, but it also demands that citizens have globally competitive skills. So again, it is our duty to make sure that these people have globally competitive skills if we really want to meet our goal. They are young, we saw them, they are rearing to go. They're saying, just give us the opportunity, just give us the skills. Maybe we didn't get them when we were in school, maybe there's a mismatch, and of course we know there's a huge mismatch because between what is coming out of the schools and what we're expecting in our industries. And to the appeal that is being made here, this is why we are saying as industry, let us pick them up so that we can help reskill them and make them industry ready. But I also believe in the tech side, they could be the ones teaching us. So while I pointed out the realities of the challenge, let me turn now to the latent opportunity. If we effectively manage this youth bulge, we could become one of Africa's drivers of economic growth, delivering significant democratic benefits. At KEPSA, we've been at the forefront in ensuring we put together mechanisms that provide job opportunities and equipping our youth. And just to mention some opportunities, you've heard them here today. Since 2011, we started this Kenya Youth Empowerment Project, funded by World Bank. We trained over 20,000 youth on life skills, entrepreneurship, and core business skills. We connected 13,000 of them with the internship opportunities with the private sector, surpassing the targets and showcasing the value of a private-public sector partnership. The project engaged over 3,000 master craftsmen, which we shall call SMEs, in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, to train the apprentices, and the project had a success rate of 80%, linking youth and employment opportunities. We also ran the Ajira program, which you heard them talk about, which targets the youth with skills, access to digital and digitally enabled jobs. The project has seen over 80,000 people linked to work opportunities, and like you heard, we are actually training them and then giving them opportunities. You've heard them, they're digitizing the judiciary, which is something that is really going to help fast-track the cases. We recently met Sakaja, governor of Nairobi, and we said we have youth ready to help you train. And he was very appreciative, of course, because he showed us rooms and rooms full of a lot of data, a lot of paper. And this is what these people are doing. And incidentally, as they're doing this, we are even giving them a stipend of, I think, something around 20,000 shillings. So it's a program we've worked and we know really works, and it's a win-win for everybody. So, Your Excellency, we've taken all our learnings since 2011 on the youth employment and expanded the strategy to a 5-year and developed an Accelerator program, which is what you will be launching today. So we've taken every single learning over the years, and as we target to deliver 1 million jobs every single year for the next 5 years. And you've heard commitment coming, and I think Karo will share with you the firm commitments that we've already gotten. So it will not only expand our economic activities through youth employment and entrepreneurship, but it will also effectively and efficiently deliver essential services to Kenyan youths as we assist in getting firm commitments from private sector and government. Our second priority area, of course, this morning is the drought that we are facing, and as we are undergoing, which to me looks like one of the most severe that we've ever experienced. And as part of our public-private partnership, we have begun a call to action that we are calling Pamoja Tuungane initiative that brings together the private sector, development partners, and other stakeholders to complement your government efforts towards the drought. It would be our utmost pleasure today to have you formally launch it and launch the call to action. But however, you probably wonder, have we been sitting back waiting for you? No, sir. We've actually been doing a lot. You have heard, I know we were with you on Friday at K-Yeeap. Our members will, and you'll get the list, have been doing what they can in their respective areas. But we want to give it that push. We want to give it a period of 1 year so that we do the immediate, we do the intermediate, what needs to change, so that Kenya stops finding itself in this situation over and over again. So we are in it for the long haul. As I conclude, Your Excellency, I want to reiterate commitment on entrenching our partnership as the private sector with the government. We are committed to working with you and your government in finding solutions that will create a better Kenya, whether it is addressing the youth unemployment, the current drought alleviation, or towards creating a more enabling business environment, including a better socio-economic environment for Kenya. We are your partners, and in this vein, we really appreciate you availing yourself this early in the morning and your government, and we look forward to further engagements. Asante.
Thank you you very much, Flora. I'd like to now to invite Caro Karaoke to give us more information on the program and then invite the Deputy President to launch it thereafter. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope you've had some breakfast, have you? I know we're talking about drought, but please don't feel shy to at least have a cup of tea, even so that at least maybe your pockets will be a little warmer later to give something small. But the Deputy President, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of Kenya, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, the ministers present, the PSAs, the development partners, the private sector leaders, Rotary, and all the partners in this program, the youth who are here today. This is your day, especially the youth. A lot of us can start talking about, in our days as a youth, and we can give you some still advice about what you need to do with your current today. But this is your world, and this is your day. But before I say a little bit about this program, let me say a little bit about KEPSA. And because we have new people in the room, we have a new administration, and I don't qualify to be part of the youth because this is my 5th administration to work with. Since 2005, so I can tell you everything about each administration and what we've achieved and what we've carried forward to the next administration. And so I'm really, really privileged to work with the different administrations. And also because the more things change, the more they remain the same. For the CS Ababu Namwamba, we worked with him in the 2nd administration, the coalition government. He's back, and so it's good to have him back. And I know many others who are back and will continue to work with them. As my chair introduced KEPSA, it's true we bring the local and the foreign business associations, chamber of commerces, professional bodies, corporates from all multinational companies, medium, small sizes, SMEs, startups, from all the sectors of the economy, and so that we can speak in one voice. So when we sit here, our world, Karibu Dr. Manu, this is the oldest and the founder of KEPSA. He's 94 years old and does not give up to come every morning and be part of us and contribute a lot. And you'll see what the Chandaria Foundation has been doing with us. And so as I was saying, and for us, our work as KEPSA is to bring everyone and have the different associations focus on their mandate, but on the areas that are cross-cutting, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's youth, whether it's drought, climate change and such, then we come together and speak in one voice and agree on what to do together. And also, of course, the socioeconomic programs, as we've talked about, the youth, the SMEs, and all others. You can see some of our member associations there, but we also host what we call the International Chamber of Commerce, which facilitates linkages between Kenya businesses and other global counterparts. And this gives us a reach and a partnership with over 45 million businesses around the world. And so when you engage with us, we're able to talk to many other businesses around the world through ICC. As I talked about this being a 5th administration, it's because KEPSA is non-aligned, it's non-political, so members may support whichever side, but as an organization, we remain non-aligned, non-political. We are the UN of the private sector. And I can see my UN counterpart here. And so that's how we work with all the very structured engagements. So we start at the base, and you saw some of our sector board leaders who are here present. Usually they're about 18 to 20, depending on how the government is organized within the ministries. And that's where we start our conversations. All the policy discussions, all these programs and projects that we're talking about. And then we have the roundtables, and they've been created over time. We do have selected with state agencies, KRA, of course, the AG, CBK, immigration, just the needs that we need to work together with the private sector. And these are quarterly and all that. And then we do have the National Assembly, which we call the Speakers Roundtable, because that's where all these discussions we're talking about, laws, are made, the budget. Speakers and Senate Roundtable. And mentioning Senate, we do have, I think, 2 senators who've joined us from the arid areas. Maybe I could ask them just to stand and wave for them wherever they are. I don't know, there were supposed to be 3, but we have 2. That's from Embu. I think we have another one maybe from Machakos there who joined us this morning as we discussed this conversation around that. So we do meet with them, and we'll be going back to them and saying what policies must we do in those counties to make sure this perennial issue does not continue. We also have the Chief Justice Forum. And one of the things that I must say, when we met with the Kenya Kwanza team during the electioneering period, and our president today leading the team, we shared what we called the private sector economic manifesto. And one of the areas we shared that time was the judiciary budget. And to see that that has been effected so early in the administration, we are very, very grateful. And the second thing that we shared was about what we had been talking for a long time, what we call the Biashara Bank, Biashara Fund, and that has been effected in another different name, the Hustler Fund. And so we're looking forward to that. And so what we've done is merge the two, our economic manifesto, and then now the new administration manifesto that has made government, and we have one. And so we're looking forward now to engaging at the presidential roundtable and say, now how do we continue to implement each of those things together? And so, dear Deputy President, as you go back and meet the President, so we're looking forward, at least in the next 2 weeks, to have our first forum, now that the cabinet is in place, and now we look at all those areas and see how we partner the next 5 years and engage. And so our climax is the roundtable with the President. After we've engaged with all the others, development partners, we do the same, and regional forums at EABC, East African Business Council. We're the focal point as KEPSA of the East African Business Council, and each country in the region has a focal point, which is the umbrella body of the business in that country. So we'll learn more about KEPSA for those who are new as we go along. But today we are speaking a lot about the youth. So let me say a little bit, just to add where my chair Flora has stopped on, in terms of some of the programs we've done. I won't go into the details, they are right there from the Kenya Youth Empowerment Program, but I'll stop there and say something on why we took the youth agenda. In 2007, when we had the elections and the disputed elections, and we had the post-election violence, when we sat down as the leadership of KEPSA then, we looked and said, how did it go so bad? And we realized one of the constituents that was very involved in the violence was the youth. And we said, as a responsible private sector, we cannot just wait for government to do everything about the youth. We have to take up the challenge. We have to play a role on the socio-economic agenda. And that's when we went out and said, who can we start working with? And we started working. World Bank was starting the Kazi kwa Vijana program, and we said we're going to take one component. And if I may say so myself, it became the only component that was successful, and the rest were cancelled along the way. And so that gave us the encouragement to do more in the youth. That was the Kenya Youth Empowerment we implemented with the World Bank and the Ministry of the Youth then. And then we went on and started taking another one with the Danish, the business sector program support. And you can see the number of the jobs that were created in each of these programs that I won't go into the details of. We worked with the Ministry of Trade with that. Then we did Switch Africa Green with the UNDP. And then we started the Ajira program. The first pilot was with Rockefeller and the Ministry of ICT. And we realized we could create a lot of jobs. And that's when we said, can we expand the Ajira program? And over 1.9 million jobs has been created over the period that we have done the Ajira program. And it's about 2-3 years. And that's what has given us encouragement that if actually we combine all these things that we have learned in these different programs, we can do a bigger one and bring more partners and more commitments. We also did the e-commerce program with Trademark East Africa. And I think one of the youth mentioned, once we went into COVID, people couldn't go to work. And the challenge was work from home. And what were these young people going to do? And we thought, some of them were busy selling their produce, or services out there, and now they can't go. And we thought, can we help them use platforms, the e-commerce platforms? Many would use Twitter and Facebook, and we told them, that's not e-commerce. There's actually e-commerce platforms where you can do your business. And so we did this, and we trained about over 2,600 SMEs. And a lot of these SMEs, of course, are young people, and 1,800 have increased their monthly sales by 40%. Would like to do more of this kind of programs as we move into the tech world. And then again, we went to the coast and said, we are all about sustainability. And Deputy President, you heard this in the morning when the CS Miano mentioned about private sector and sustainability. And we said we could start doing small little things. And we found young people who, there was a lot of garbage. And we said, we could turn this to a business. And we worked with the French embassy in what we call the Coast through the Coast program. And 3,000 women who are young, a lot of them and young people have started small businesses by recycling. And what has happened, if you go to some of these places, and we'll take you so that you see what we're talking about, is that those places now, and a lot of them are slums, they're clean. Because what has happened, whatever used to be garbage now is being turned into small businesses and they're earning income. And so crime rate also goes down because of that. And then the SME Accelerator program, and this we're doing a lot of capacity building again with MasterCard and a few others. So that's a brief of what we've done in terms of that. And that's what has gotten us here and said, we can do more. And if we can create these kind of jobs over this period of time, how about we start thinking about 1 million jobs, at least per year? And so what I'm going to share today is the program and some of the commitments of what can create that. And then we're going to invite many, many others to be part of this. And the idea of the Kenya Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Program is to unlock the potential of the SMEs, which are mostly young people, through tailored support services that allow them to grow and create jobs for young people. Leverage on technology and digital transformation to scale the businesses, work with the TVET ecosystem to bridge the gap between industry and training, transform the youth labor market by contributing evidence and data that is relevant in addressing policy bottlenecks that impede accelerated job creation in the private and public sector. And then target group is the youth, young women, persons living with disability, refugees, and I should have mentioned also with Ajira, we've already reached out to the refugee camps and we're doing a lot of training and getting them to do jobs. Because what we realize also, there's some who leave those refugee camps and now end up in crime because they don't have opportunities and they have left the refugee camp. So we've also gone in there with the Ajira program. And so this will also include the refugees and those in low resource resetting amongst other groups. So there will be 3 components. The first component will be small enterprise acceleration and support scaling, at least as we start the first year, support scaling up of 200,000 small enterprises to attract finance, access markets, coaching and mentorship across the country. The initiatives will be establishment of county business hubs. We'll be doing constituency hubs with Ajira. Now we want to move to the bigger counties. County Youth Innovation and Entrepreneurship Awards, annual county business competitiveness. And this we hope to create at least 510,000 jobs. And these are just not numbers we're throwing out there. It's because we have real commitments. And those are some of the committed organizations that we'll be working with. Chandaria Foundation, Nairobi Stock Exchange, Corporate Council on Africa, Accelerator Africa, Africa Management Institute, Safaricom, KPLC, WEF, Unilever, Rafaj, Diageo. And I'm inviting everyone else in this room and not in this room to be part of this. Market-oriented skills development, skill captures, we have what we call the Nawiri Youth Placement Program that seeks to provide internships. We heard about Optiven and what they're doing and the call to everyone else. Apprenticeship, work readiness, mentorship and job linkages to graduates of TVET and universities. This is building capacity of youth placement services providers. Strategic partnerships with universities and TVETs, leveraging KEPSA private sector members for support. We are starting with a small number as little, but we hope this number can grow, 95,000 jobs to be created. We already have Dedan Kimathi University, Optiven, ASNET, which is our agricultural sector board, and Open Business, who are already committed to this. Then the digital economy, and this is where we hope these jobs can actually be more than what we have the commitments right now, because we're in the tech revolution. Support the government in the implementation of the Ajira digital project. We hope to... Did someone step on something?
I know I've been told to say, I think, right, and digital, the Ajira program, and this is catalyze the digital work.
And so some of the commitments we have for this one right now is the Association of Countywide Hubs, Safaricom, ABSA, Bookings Africa, Wawizi, World Food Program, Sitalek, Google, Africa 118, Tactictive Consulting. Those are the programs that, thank you. Those are the people who are committed right now. But there's so many others in this room and not in this room that we are hoping, so that we not only do 1 million. This is our target with the commitments. I think we can do 2 million if everyone participates. So those are the partners that have committed, so you can see them, hold them in accountable with us. And then these are some of the beneficiaries of the programs that we have run, especially Ajira, the COVID recovery program, you can see even Dadaab Express Shop, as I talked about the refugees and what we are doing with them, and others. So those are some of the ones that are just ongoing right now, and that's what we want to expand and make it big and ensure the young people as optimistic as these ones who sat here because they are part of this program. Asante sana. And now it's my pleasure to invite the CS of Youth, Mr. Babu Namwamba, who will give his remarks and invite the Deputy President.
Your Excellency, our Deputy President, my colleague CS Rebecca, and other government officials here with us, the leadership of KEPSA, Flora, Carol, and the captains of industry, all protocols observed, good morning. Your Excellency, with 75% of our population below the age of 35, we truly are a very young, a very youthful nation. It is a demographic profile or demographic reality that offers us opportunity to reap what we call demographic dividends. Because this is a demographic cohort that is full of energy, full of verve, soaks knowledge, training, and education like a sponge, ready to learn, innovative, they dream, they're passionate. But that notwithstanding, Your Excellency, the reality is that a majority of our young people today are largely disillusioned, they're dispirited, and even disenchanted. I was looking at the statistics of the last elections, and the IEBC says of the 22.1 or so million Kenyans who registered to vote, 39.8% of those fell in this cohort of the youth. And the IBC goes on to note specifically that those figures represent a drop of 5.2% from the statistics of 2017. Meaning that there is even a drop of passion and interest in the political space. And the reality is that our young people have risen to be disillusioned, to be disenchanted. Because when you look at the realities of employment, for instance, we release 800,000 graduates into the labor market every year. Of these 800,000 young people, the formal employment space only takes 20%, which leaves 80% of this to the informal sector. And so we have an incredibly high rate of unemployment and underemployment. And you begin to understand why these young people become disenchanted. But the truth and the saving grace is that this particular government, the government of Kenya Kwanza, has a window of opportunity. And the window of opportunity is that these young people have faith in this government. In fact, when you look at the statistics again, and go back to the statistics of the last elections, the Kenya Kwanza government is a government largely elected by young people. And repeatedly, even as we did our polling, we could not fail to pick out the reality, the fact that the largest portion of our support base was the youth of Kenya. And so they have faith in a president they love to call the chief hustler because of feeling a connection too. And they have a lot of passion for a deputy president they have christened Rigiji. These are not just names that our young people have ascribed to their president and their deputy president. For me, they are statements of faith. They are statements of trust. And that is what I call the window of opportunity. To mine and to harvest this faith, this trust that the young people have placed in this government. I have the privilege of having been given the responsibility by His Excellency the President and the Deputy President to manage the corner of government that has been characterized as the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and the Arts. And I want to tell you I am under express instructions of the President and the Deputy President here to help manage the affairs of young people, not outside the box, but entirely without the box, completely without the box. His Excellency the Deputy President was reminding me just a moment ago, you have to do it completely differently. And I'll do it, sir, completely differently, because that is what our young people expect. They expect a completely different mindset and a completely different approach. I was listening very keenly as the panel of young people here spoke to us. And I was particularly struck by the words of Beatrice. A young lady told us she's from K-Yeeap. And in her concluding remarks, Beatrice tells us they do not want tokenism. They don't want handouts. They don't want parochial approaches. They want substance. They want sustainability. They want continuity. And that is why I have so much faith with the program we are launching here today. Going beyond the parochial, going beyond tokenism. And so when you heard His Excellency the President say, no kazi mtaani, it is about moving away from tokenism and moving towards substance and sustainability. The President said these words incidentally while launching the affordable housing program in K-Yeeap, where Beatrice lives. And I know that we will indeed replace tokenism with substance and sustainability. Because if you're talking sustainable programs, then you're thinking, if you have an affordable housing program, it is not just about young people doing ile kazi ya mkono, but you're saying if there's going to be physical planning, then we want young physical planners to be on the table. If you have the work of architectural designs of the whole program, you want young architects at the table. You want young plumbers, electricians, and young people with technical skills to be part of this program. That is moving beyond tokenism. And so, I want to commit that this ministry, in the overall architecture of government, will be available to work with KEPSA and this whole private sector space to drive this program. And we also want to deploy the entire space of sports and the arts as you think of other innovative ways to exploit the space populated by our young people. we want to work with Peter here at Safaricom to see how the Skiza platform can be a platform to unleash the potential of our young artists. And as we upload the creativity of our young people on the Skiza platform, we should be able to see how our young people can earn more from the Skiza platform. We want to engage the Communications Authority of Kenya to see how they can collect more from media platforms where the creativity of our young people is played out, how that can be transformed, can be turned into sustainable revenue and income for our artists. We want the sporting industry to be a real industry where we manufacture and we put into the market a lot of the sporting equipment that our young people use out there to brand our country. And I really want to thank KEPSA for this partnership. Early this year, I accompanied then presidential candidate William Ruto to a conversation in this room with KEPSA, where you shared with us the private sector manifesto. And I want to admit that that manifesto did shape the thinking that went into the plan. And so let me just thank you for having made such an incredible input into our planning, and now you are ready to work with government in implementing the plan. Asante sana. Let me conclude by saying that we'll work with you because we believe in the African saying that if you want to go very fast, you travel alone. But if you want to go very far, you travel with others. So you want to travel together, knowing that we owe our young people so much to raise their spirits, and to borrow the words of Winston Churchill as he addressed the House of Commons on August 20th, 1940. Never in the history of a nation has so much been owed by so few to so many. The few of us who are in leadership owe so much to the young people of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, can we all now be upstanding, as it is now my singular honor and duty to welcome His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Rigi G to our young people, to address you and launch the Kenya Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Accelerator program. Thank you, Your Excellency. Karibu sana.
Please be seated. Cabinet secretaries present, captains of industry, business leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. We're happy to be here. I had organized my thoughts around the two functions, but on reaching here, I found that we need to do one and then the other, so I'll try to reorganize quickly my thoughts. And I don't want to be long because this youth thing is bubbling. They are raring to go. They are impatient. They want us to get moving. And you have seen when the CEO was speaking, the machine to launch the program went on so that we can move. That is how urgent the matter is. I feel greatly honored to be part of this auspicious occasion, Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Accelerator Initiative, launched today. I commend the management and board of KEPSA for their effort towards youth employment and entrepreneurship, as is a key initiative to promoting socio-economic growth and transformation. KEPSA has been keen on SME accelerator programs, which supports SMEs in quickly increasing the value of their businesses by undertaking intensive training and mentorship to bolster their current strategies, accelerate their growth, and help them pivot or adjust their strategy due to new information about their target markets. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, approximately 800,000 young Kenyans enter the labor market every year. However, the country's years of strong economic growth have created jobs, but at a rate that is too low to absorb the rapidly growing population. Ladies and gentlemen, youth unemployment in Kenya is estimated at 38.9%, with an estimated 1 million young people getting into the labor market every year from our academic institutions. However, the economy has not matched the supply in generation of new jobs. Experts have warned us of the youth time bomb occasioned by the jobless youth bulge. In fact, 75% of Kenya's population is below the age of 35 years. This population is a big blessing to this nation. We must plan well and invest in our youth to reap our demographic dividend ahead of Kenya's Vision 2030 and Africa Union's Agenda 2063. We note with appreciation that the Kenya Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Program is an innovative and comprehensive job creation initiative with an overall goal of creating 1 million employment and entrepreneurship opportunities for youth in Kenya. Moreover, this initiative seeks to unlock the potential of small and medium enterprises through tailored support services that allow them to grow and create jobs for the young people. I'm informed that this program will leverage technology and digital transformation. This is by scaling the businesses through catalytic interventions like promotion of business processes, outsourcing as a way of enhancing efficiency, by digitalization of services to accelerate access to markets regionally and globally. We keenly play into ensuing digital evolution across the world. Kenya cannot afford to be left behind, since we have one of the fastest internet connectivity and penetration in Africa. What we do with the internet connectivity will make the difference. What we do with the penetration will make the difference, and convert this resource to grab and rule the international market. But we must also have cutting-edge products and services. This is why we are also emphasizing market-oriented, demand-driven skills. I urge KEPSA to closely work with the TVET institutions to bridge the gap between training and industry. As I conclude, the Kenya Kwanza government is committed to reducing bureaucracies, to reduce the cost of production, and doing businesses online and offline. This is because we understand the importance of a friendly business environment for upcoming and established expenditure of 9,000 per family. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that I'm very happy to be here. And we have come here early, and I'm ready to come here at 5 a.m. if we are discussing opportunities for our young people. I must do full disclosure. From a purely selfish perspective, President William Ruto and I owe tons of gratitude to our young people who overwhelmingly voted. Lazima turudishe mkono. We want to be honest. We owe these young people some interventions of one kind or another. Many people have asked me how they can become friends with President William Ruto. I want to share with you the strategy. If you want to become a friend of President William Ruto, create 5 jobs for our young people and you'll be his friend. Create opportunities for our young people, you'll be his buddy. I feel good that an occasion has been set aside and prepared to discuss the future of our young population. They are the future of this nation, and we are genuine when we say so. President William Ruto, I, and all of you here, we are not getting any younger. And let us not pretend that we are getting younger. Time is going. We must prepare succession management in governance, in entrepreneurship, in business. We must prepare to hand over essentially along the way. I know many people don't like that topic, but it's the truth. And when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We want a situation where in your boards of directors, you have 2-3 characters below the age of 35. So that when decisions are being made about the company, and you are saying that the youth are important, they are part of the decision-making process. We want our young people to be on the decision-making table. Next year, we'll be hosting the Youth Connect Summit. And we'll bring 10,000 youths from the whole of the African continent to come and interact with our young people here, to share ideas on intellectual property rights, on the tech industry, on their role in governance. Our young people have told them they cannot sit at home and wait for anybody to come for them and tell them that they are the leaders for tomorrow. Nobody will come from you at home. You must get out and take your rightful place in the development of this country, in public governance, in private enterprise. So I want to tell KEPSA and your leadership, you are our very serious partner. And with this youth agenda you have here, you are our friends. And I want to confirm, CEO, President William Ruto is ready any day for the roundtable conference. Any day. Especially if agenda number 1 is youth and their employment and business opportunities. Tomorrow, the day after, at night, over the weekend, President William Ruto is ready and available. And I've said many times, and many people think I'm joking, the President and I, we have no children we are bringing up. We are not looking for wealth. We are just available to serve 24/7. 24/7. And that is why the President has given a policy direction about time management. He has told us, anybody who keeps business people waiting will meet his wrath. Because you are here over 150 people. If we waste your time here 30 minutes, 1 hour, the loss to the economy is unquantifiable. And we are just one person. So why do you want to keep 200 people waiting? You think you are so important? Whom the hell do you think you are? Most of you, let's be honest here, had been poisoned against us very much by the previous administration. That we are thieves, that we are corrupt, that we are bringing wheelbarrows to ordinary children when ours are working elsewhere. The wheelbarrow is just a tool of trade, it's a symbol. People who have not studied literature do not know what is a knowledge. They do not know the power of figurative language. The wheelbarrow was just a symbol of hard work by ordinary people. So you had been poisoned against us. That will be against industry, will be against enterprise, we will be killing big businesses. We are only thinking about the hustlers and ourselves. The Hustler Fund. The biggest beneficiary of the Hustler Fund is the big private sector. When we give 50 billion to the hustlers to trade, they have no factories. Where would they buy their wares? They'll come to you. They'll come to you. That 50 billion, you guys are likely to pick 40 billion out of it. So you should clap for us. And you know, these guys were despising us because of our background, because our fathers are not known, because we didn't go to schools that are anything. But they didn't know that despite that, we have some little brain. And because of continuously engaging the people of Kenya, we know a thing or two of what needs to be done. And let me tell you, the government of President William Ruto has agreed the tool for governance is continuous engagement with those stakeholders. You will never go wrong when you engage. None of us, not President William Ruto, not I, not Ababu, has a monopoly of knowledge. We know very little. We keep on learning every day. Every engagement is enriching. We shall continuously engage with KEPSA so that we borrow from what you know. We tell you what we know. We put the ideas together and come up with a win-win situation. My boss, the president, has said, a good idea must give way to a better idea. And a better idea must, of necessity, give way to the best idea. And that can only be done by continuously engaging stakeholders in a respectful and dignified manner. And I want to tell you, I saw some people saying, oh, Rigathi Gachagua became deputy president after just having served as one term as MP. What they don't know is that that is not the real thing. The real thing is public-private partnership and the role I play in this administration. I have 15 years experience as a public servant. I have 15 years experience in the private sector and 5 years experience in the legislature. That is 35 years. I am a good bridge between the public sector and the private sector because I understand both. And my work that I have been given by the president, public sector reforms are in my office. And my duty is very simple and clear. The president has instructed me. Can you align the public sector to support the private sector? The work of the public sector is to be supportive and to facilitate the private sector. The public sector in our administration will not be a bottleneck. It will not be a hindrance to doing business. Their work is to ease business. Their work is to facilitate the private sector. I told the K-Yeeap people, when you walk to an office, you cannot tell the color of the regional wall, the wall, because it's full of licenses. You know, we have agreed, we are collapsing all those licenses into one. Where does a serious company get time to move from one office to another, looking for licenses instead of looking for new businesses? You know? We have told our people in government, you cannot criminalize enterprise. Government must support enterprise, not criminalize enterprise. And we have discussed with the KRA, and now we have reached a consensus. The president had a working lunch with them on Saturday, and we have agreed. They will collect very aggressively 3 trillion. And we ask everybody to pay taxes. It's a responsibility. But we have asked them to create a dignified engagement with taxpayers so that it is easy and friendly. But that does not say we don't pay taxes. Let's pay our taxes. But let us treat taxpayers with dignity. Because they are the clients. And the client is the most important person in any engagement. So that has been worked on. I urge all Kenyans to pay their taxes on time, appropriately, and we have asked KRA to devise a friendly tax regime on how to engage the taxpayers, because we need that money to provide services. But in a nutshell, the policy of the Ruto administration is less and less government in people's lives and more services to the people of Kenya. That is the policy. So I want to say, our young people, Waziri Abab, we must get nearer to these youths. And you can see they are looking for us. Why they called me Rigji is because they want me to be nearer them. They feel more comfortable. And I've started. When I was invited to Kisumu for the music festival, my plane was full of young legislators below 35. When I went to Rwanda, I went there with 14 young members of the National Assembly. Because by staying near these young people, you get to know their thinking, you get to know their fears, you get to appreciate their capacity, you get to know how to engage with them. And I have asked our CS, Ababu, you must do things differently. The Ministry of Youth cannot just be about just appearing when there is a youth event. Reach out to KEPSA. You know, and I'm telling you, this great guy called Ababu, he is all yours. Engage him. Yeah, he's all yours. And Waziri, anywhere, ukisikia vijana wanaweza saidika, you arrive 1 hour before the people arrive. Because we have a problem. I spoke in Kasarani and people thought I'm mischievous. That I'm speaking so truthfully in front of visitors. But this truth needed to be said. We have 6 million people without jobs. That is the truth. And it must be said. How do you confront challenges unless you first say there is a challenge? When you go to a doctor, the first thing he assesses and decides what is the problem. Then he diagnoses how to deal with it. But if you pretend there is no problem, how do you deal with that? Something you pretend does not exist. I want to tell our young people, the Ruto administration is so focused on your issues. You wouldn't know our meetings with the president, private and public. 40% of his conversation revolves around the youth issue. We are so clear in our mind. So for our private sector, please, we have agreed that the way to go and to develop this country is PPP. So be ready. Water sector, dams, distribution of water will be done through public-private partnership. So you people be ready. And we'll continue to engage with you continuously. And we are receptive people. And we are humble, we are not arrogant. We will allow you to tell us what you need to tell us. Even if it is ugly, even when we are doing badly, please don't cheat us. You know, the previous government had a choir called Praise and Worship. Their work was just to praise and worship. We have dismantled that choir in government, as we want the truth. When we engage in that round table conference, CEO, please look at the president on the face and tell him, here you are off the mark. Here you are doing the right thing. Here you can change, and you take it positively. The only praise and worship team we want to come across is on Sunday in our churches, and we'll be quite happy. But in these other engagements, please don't come to praise us, to tell us how wonderful we are. Oh, nini, hatutaki. Sababu ni uongo. Just tell us the truth. Where we are doing well, encourage us to continue doing well. Where we are doing badly, please tell us off. And I encourage the opposition. the people we defeated, please take up your role. Mtukosoe na mtuambie vizuri. Hapa hapana, hapa muko sawa, hapa munaanguka, hapa you are too lazy. This one improve here, and we shall take it positively, provided it's constructive criticism. Let us not develop the culture of praise and worship in a country, because the country will sink. Let us be truthful. Let us tell the leadership the truth of what people are saying, what the situation is like. And that is why when we came in, we removed the subsidy on fuel, because it was not sustainable. It was a lie. Subsidizing unga was a lie. It cannot go on for long. We are spending 8 billion shillings in a month. How can you sustain that? And you have seen through interventions, the price of unga has started coming down. Gas, Kameko, the one with 1,600 now, is below 1,000. Edible oils coming down, because the interventions are practical and long-lasting. But you cannot run a country on a lie, on deceit, and tell people you are subsidizing consumption. You cannot subsidize consumption. You want to subsidize production so that effectively the consumers can get the benefit. We want to run an open government that will be truthful to the people of Kenya. And where there are challenges, we will tell the people of Kenya their challenges. So the private sector fraternity, please, we are your friends. You are our serious partners. We are available on short notice. We are willing to engage candidly and truthfully to build this country. The future of this country is in supporting, facilitating the private sector to work around this economy. And we don't want to cheat ourselves that we have a very good situation. We are down, but we'll be up by being truthful, by engaging in a candid manner, and by allowing anybody in this country who has a contribution to make that contribution. So please don't leave this country to we, as the political class. You are part of this country. You have a role to play. This is your country. We have no other country to go to. Let's build this country together. And I'm sure if we put our efforts together in a positive and a candid manner, we'll make some progress somehow along the way. So for our youths, work hard and stay focused. Stay focused. And you have people to hold your hands. I saw the young people speaking here. I felt good that they have hope. And they're asking, please don't give us handouts. Don't give us fish. Give us a net and show us how to use it. It's such a challenge to us, especially in the political class, that the youth are asking, enable us, facilitate us. We want to be drivers of this economy. We want to be active participants. We want to be given a chance. And you know, the youth have the advantage of energy, passion, zeal, and they are also very hopeful. So let us support our young people. So I want to say thank you to KEPSA. What you are doing, you don't know. You don't know how I feel about it. You don't know how the president feels about it. That some people somewhere have sat down and decided to have a program for our young people, to hold their hand and support them and prepare them for the future. It's such a beautiful thing. And therefore, you have literally made my day. I'll have a very good day. We have started on a very good note. So with those very many remarks, I think, Madam, you need to guide us. This machine was very impatient. So let's
Madam, kindly take over.
Your Excellency, may I invite you to formally launch the program with the KEPSA CEO, KEPSA Chairman, CS Ababu Namwamba, and Deputy Chairman of KEPSA, Jaswinder Bedi.
A big hand of applause to His Excellency. The panelists are here. We have them here for His Excellency. We'll join them to take a picture after that. So that's why we wanted it to be very quick and short.
I think they're explaining because of the lady with disability, we joined them on that side. Yes, he could. Maybe one or two of the
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Now, the rest of us will go and we'll take our seats as I invite His Excellency and the panelists to join the panelists under the CS Youth, Mr. Bob Namwamba, and then the Director Youth Programs, to take a picture with His Excellency.
Ehud, could you please join the team on stage?
Fine, thank you. Let's pull back kindly. All right, thank you. Now I will ask the CS and the youth director and Madam, we pull over so that we leave His Excellency to take the picture with the panelists. Thank you very much. Now, Your Excellency, we can now go back to our seats as we are going to the next session. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Kindly now let's all take our seats as we are going to the next session. The first session was about youth affairs, and now the second session is about the drought situation in Kenya. As I now invite the Chief Executive Officer of KEPSA, Madam Caroline Kariuki, EBS MBS, to come and make her remarks and invite the partners. Thank you.
Just to give a few comments and then invite some of our partners that we've been working. So shift gear from the young people to what's facing the country right now, the drought. And if someone can put up the presentation, I'll go very quickly because in the interest of time and I want the partners. So I'll just mention a little bit about the private sector on climate change and basically what we're doing around climate change. And what we're doing in KEPSA, again, as I said, we do a lot of socioeconomic areas. We look at where is the country going, where is the world at, and we say, what are the challenges? And we pick up as a private sector and say, how do we rally the private sector to be part of the solution? So there's that what we're doing with the youth, but there's also climate change because it's a big agenda, and I think we are feeling it more than ever. This is the worst drought we've had in 40 years in the north of Africa, and it's getting worse. And so what we're doing in KEPSA in terms of climate change are two things. We have the Climate Business Information Network, and here we do the partnerships with the National Assembly and FAO in strengthening climate adaptation. Then we also do capacity building of our businesses around climate change. Then we have been doing the private sector strategy on climate change, 2022-2030, developed as a national guide, and on business commitment to climate change. Then PPPs around climate change. The ones that we're working on currently are on water, tea, fisheries, value chains. And then climate finance. Design two private sector-led concept notes on resilience, food resilience, environment, and we are going to develop many more. Then on the commitment, and we're so glad to hear the President, before we were working on the 2 billion tree planting, and then the President has moved it to 15 billion. Already by June this year, the private sector over 49 million over 49 million in cash and over 6 billion in kind, seedlings and tree planting. And hearing again the President saying the youth are going to be involved in tree planting, we are ready to work with them on what we have committed in our seedlings. We are ready, we've met with the governor of County of Nairobi. We've agreed, we're just waiting for a date to start with Nairobi County in terms of tree planting. And so the private sector who are here and those who are not here already have the seedlings. We've committed in other initiatives around the tree planting. And then we have also been working with our partner, with one of our members, K-Yeeap, and our partner, KCIC, on corporate commitment on climate change. And then that's whole idea of reduction of emissions and all that. So without further ado, in the second program we are working is the first in Africa, which is called the Kenya Plastic Pact. You know, the private sector has really been committed in reduction of the plastics in the market, in our oceans. So we are very involved in the blue economy, and we've been working with different countries on that, and hopefully we can now work with the new administration again around the plastics, and especially in marine and our oceans and rivers. So that's what we're doing in the climate change. But that hasn't stopped the effect of the drought. And as I said, we're having the worst drought in 40 years. And so a little rundown what the private sector has done in the past. In 2011, most of us who are here remember when we ran a big initiative and a call to Kenyans, which we called Kenyans for Kenya, and we were able to raise by day 180 million, and in week 1, 300 million, over 300 million of corporates and 135 from Kenyans in the call. And the initial target was 500 million, but we ended up with $1 billion was raised. And so, Deputy President, as we're inviting you today, is that call we want to make, to be able to meet a similar target like we did that time. In 2017, the drought wasn't so bad, so we raised a little, about 3 million to support the drought mitigation. I remember going to North Hall with the former First Lady, again, to do cash for cows and animals, and really just support. And then 2022, here we are. And I must really thank Safaricom, because they took the challenge first and said, we must do something again as the private sector. And Peter will be elaborating on that. In 2022, which is the initiative to Pamoja Tuungane initiative, we talked about 4.35 million people at risk, food, medicine, water, logistics support, and resources mobilized in the first call was 112 million, and those are the partners that were involved then. Then we again had the resources and donations that were raised between that time was 100 million from Safaricom and 12.7 million from Bonga Points in citizens in the first call. Then we had a second call, and that is when we started saying call to action, and we renamed it Pamoja Tuungane. And in the second call, this is the time we discussed, let's have a whole 1 year strategy and have short term, medium term, long term. And the short term is really to mobilize those resources to save lives, food, medicine, dignity packs, water, borehole drilling, and logistics support. So as we said, some part of the country are experiencing good rainfall, there's food, we need to move that food to these other areas. Then medium term is really to look at the policy changes. There's a lot of policies that are involved here, and that's why I said I'm glad we have some of the senators here, because we want them to be the champions in Senate and in other areas to really say what are the policies we must have to really change here. Then long term, why the private sector is here, it's not just for the short term, is the investments. We must invest. We all can't fit in Nairobi. We have to invest in Turkana. We have Talo. How many others can go to Turkana today and invest? How many can go to Masabit? How many can go to these other places? And that's what we'll be working together with yourselves and government to ensure that the environment, the business environment is favorable in those areas so that we can get the investments we need and we reduce this. And so when we did this call of action, resources raised and donations, if we could move very fast. These are the organizations that have raised and given. We have about 4.8 in cash and 1 million from Chandaria Foundation. We have Base Titanium Foods and Staff, about 6 million. Team Pankaj Foundation, 45 million distributed. Davies and Shatleaf, 31.7 million. K-Yeeap, which Deputy President you graced last week on Friday, raised 104 million. Rotary Food Staff, Water, Infrastructure Support. PWD's faced with hunger, over 50 million. Aramax Logistics Support, and these are just examples. We've not captured everyone since we did the last call. And so today we want to make another call and do the same and get many more to participate. So up to last week, that's part of what we had done. And now we want to make a bigger call. But before we do that, let me ask some of the partners that we are working with to come and give very, very few remarks. And I'll start with Mr. Peter Ndegwa of Safaricom. Then I'll go to Azeb Asrat, so just 2-3 minutes, who is the Rotary District Governor. Then we'll move to Anthony Gororano, my good friend from the UNDP, and then my other good friend, Dr. Stephen Jackson of the UN, and we'll conclude that part before I ask the CS to come, Rebecca Miano, who will give some few remarks. Then we'll ask the Deputy President to make a call. But I know this morning as I was seated there, a few companies sent me a message and said, we have a little thing we can give before the Deputy President goes, and so we will not send you empty-handed. As you make the call, it may be 2 shillings, but it's 2 shillings that wasn't in that basket. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, Honorable CS is present, the 2 CSs who are present today, captains of industry, KEPSA, all protocols observed. I will make a few comments, as Caroline has said, because we've been involved in this journey of supporting communities out there in the country for a few months, and including partnering with government in many ways, whether that is sending money for free through M-Pesa or actually distributing food. But before I do that, given that I lead the largest telecommunication but also technology company, I need to acknowledge a couple of things that were said this morning. I was very happy to see the young people talk about the future. And the future is all about digital. I can see them smiling there. And also, not expecting that you'll be employed, looking for ways of future-proofing your skill set so that you employ yourself. And we came together and we are part of the KEPSA broader initiative, but focusing primarily on digital skills so that we start influencing curriculum, influencing certification, influencing mentorship, but also influencing internships and employment, finally. Because what we realized is that the universities are still training in the old traditional way, yet the skill sets that are needed within our sectors are very different. The second is we are realizing that everyone is fighting for the few skills that are available, yet there is so many educated people. So CS, we are delighted and will be happy to work together through really bringing to life this digital talent program, industry digital talent program that we've come up with, which combines private sector, universities, the ministry, to really empower the young people to be future-proof with respect to digital skills. In particular, we have also committed that we will have 1,000 students coming into our ecosystem as interns over the next 1 year, and we'll build on from there. And we've already we've already had commitment for 500, so we are looking for the other 500, but we'll do 1,000 before the end of the year. But that's just the start. The second thing is my challenge to the young people. M-Pesa came through basically from innovation, from the youth. There's a lot I had during the conversation this morning. I think it is to challenge you to think big, but also to think not just about technology, but how technology solves a customer or a societal challenge. That's really the way to think about technology rather than to think of technology by itself. I have to say, as a technology company, we are being kept busy by His Excellency the President and also the Deputy President with all the initiatives that we need to support in order for us to enable some of the initiatives that DP spoke about this morning. So happy to be involved in this launch of the Accelerator program, and I'm looking forward to supporting and being part of KEPSA within that process. Now let me talk about Pamoja Tuungane. There's no question, and I don't have to go through the detail in terms of what the country is faced with. And I have been to 2 counties. I went to Irelet in Marsabit County on the tip of Turkana, but also have been to Daba, which is somewhere in the county of Isiolo, where we were distributing food. And it's really disheartening to see what the country is faced with. So delighted that we are revamping this. So we set up Pamoja Tuungane in April, where we came up together with many institutions, the media, companies in the private sector. We raised 100 million from Safaricom, the 2 foundations, but also our own corporate contribution. We also asked Kenyans to come together and donate their bonga points. And we are seeing a lot of interest in Kenyans donating bonga points. We've raised approximately 12 million from donations of bonga points. We've also gotten a lot of donations through donations in kind, transport, packing the food, so that we make sure that any money that is raised is used to benefit the population on the ground. So far, we've distributed food to more than 100,000 people, focusing on the most impacted county, which is Marsabit and Isiolo, and we'll work through that. So very delighted that KEPSA is coming for Pamoja Tuungane version 2.0, and I'm looking forward to seeing all private sector really taking this call and coming together. When I met the Deputy President, he said that although you've already given some money, you need to give more. And I'm sure will be part of the future contributions that will be committed this morning. But I just wanted to emphasize, there's no one who can do this alone. It's all about partnership, has been emphasized this morning. and both to tackle the immediate issue, which is the drought and also the emergency problem in terms of food shortage, but also to tackle the more long-term piece, which is to ensure that we eliminate the problem. And during the COP27 climate conference, I'm sure we'll make our own commitment. Certainly, as representing Safaricom, I'll be joining other Kenyans, but also African business leaders in making a commitment to climate action with a company level action that we'll take as individuals, as individual corporate, but also as Kenya. In conclusion, Your Excellency, I urge my fellow leaders across the private sector not only to rally behind the Pamoja Tuungane campaign under the stewardship of KEPSA, but also to think about the more long-term measures that we can implement together to ensure we end once and for all the suffering of Kenyans during these droughts. As the inspirational Kenyan proverb goes, sticks in a battle are unbreakable. Together we are stronger. Together we can transform lives. Thank you very much.
Next will be the President Representative to Kenya United Nations Development Programs, Mr. Anthony. Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, fine, it's okay.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Azeb Asrat, the Rotary District Governor covering 4 countries, Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. I'm here accompanied by senior Rotarians, including the incoming District Governor Leonard Itau and District Governor nominee Dr. Joe Kamau. I'm not new to this country. 29 years ago, my first UN assignment with the World Food Program was to respond to the drought. And now coming back again, you know, seeing the drought, especially when we traveled to Isiolo and Marsabit, what I saw really put me in awe, saying that how long are we going to talk about drought and not getting sustainable solutions? Rotary, a global network of 1.4 million volunteers and philanthropists who see a world where people unite and take action to create a lasting change. Rotary, which is in over 200 countries, has been in existence for the past 117 years. We have been a reliable partner in responding to humanitarian emergencies and involved in rehabilitation and development activities, making an impact and change lives. We are here today for 2 very important issues. One of youth employment and 2, the cyclical droughts that hit the Horn of Africa, with specifics to focus here in Kenya. Currently, we are facing with the drought situation that hit 23 counties, with additional 9 at risk of starvation. We are talking here about 4 million people at risk. Their household assets have been depleted, water sources have dried up, livelihoods wrecked. We were recently in Isiolo and Marsabit, accompanied with skilled professionals from 21 clubs that allowed us to see the gravity of the drought in communities, especially in schools. The lack of water intertwined with food insecurity has put unbearable challenges to schools and communities at large. Those households are struggling to meet ends. especially what we saw in schools, the nutritional deterioration in school children is very worrisome. Actually, I would like to take this opportunity, Your Excellency. Let's put back school feeding programs in impoverished communities. Because back in the years, school feeding was at the center of the government's responsibility. Now going to Kabira, Korogocho, and the other slum areas in Kongare, in schools only what you see is children are dropping on their desks because of lack of food and not having anything in their tummies. So I think it's high time, if we are talking of the youth, we have to cultivate the minds of the youth now and not later. Rotary, in partnership with government and private sector, and UN and others, have been prioritizing on how we could respond to such an emergency. This past Saturday, the Rotary Club of Parklands, together with the Sunrise Walkers and a number of partners, was able to flag off humanitarian supplies tracked to the drought-affected countries. As we work with Safaricom, M-Pesa Foundation, KEPSA, and UN, I would like to emphasize the importance of coordination that will avoid duplication, but rather help create the modality of effective use of our meager resources. Before I wind up my remarks, I would like to highlight that the Rotary District 9212 is committed to work with partners on a long-term impactful solutions to this life-threatening drought that happens in cycles over the past more than 50 years. While responding to the drought, I think it's high time to put on our agenda the rehabilitation and development interventions that will be required to bring back households into their livelihoods. We need to bring them at speed, when it comes to really getting people into their feet to meet their ends. As far as youth is concerned, I'm really happy to hear from you, because I have been to 51 clubs within the different counties, and I'll continue to do that until I meet the 141 clubs. And what I see is that the youth is our future. Unless we work today on them, building their capacity and training them and putting them to work, our countries, Africa, will be at risk. It will be at risk. It's high time that we do that. This year, we will journey with you, not only this year, but subsequent years as well. But I would like to say this. Our district has this theme for this year. Let's march together. When I saw Pamoja Tungani, and it's exactly the same. So I'm really heartwarmed, and thank you for listening to me. Let's work together and journey to bring Africa to another level. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, CSs, captains of industry, friends, my name is Anthony Ngororano. I am the UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, resident representative in Kenya. It's such a pleasure to be here to discuss the issue of the day, which of course has two faces. One, the short term, which is of course the question of drought. And fundamentally, how do we prevent this? And then the longer term issue, which is really around Kenya's most valuable asset, its youth. Data that is available suggests that in terms of the costs of the drought, we're looking at approximately 2.7% of GDP. Now, that's obviously something that has to be taken against longer-term goals, which in the case of Vision 2030 means a big deal. And it's known that this can be mitigated. This can be mitigated through a number of things. First and foremost, targeted investment, targeting disaster preparedness, building resilience, and ensuring, of course, that all stakeholders are involved. I think from the perspective of preparedness measures, it's very clear that there remains a gap between early warning and policy action. And we say this mindful that a lot of the data that we have today was made available in November 2021, but because of this gap, we didn't see commensurate action. In partnership with KEPSA, UNDP has been focusing on the preconditions for boosting economic resilience and green transition. And this obviously has focused on the groups that we are seeing today at the center, at the epicenter of the drought. The principal policy challenge, however, and this has been enumerated by a number of previous speakers, lies around how do you balance this immediate need with dealing with the structural aspects. And maybe I'd like to talk a little bit about that in terms of work we've been doing with KEPSA, along with a number of you here. In terms of the immediate needs, over the last 10 years, alongside NDMA, we've worked to build the resilience of 377,000 communities. Be that as it may, as we've seen, this is work that still has significant headspace, and we really need to keep moving while building on what's already there. In terms of the structural aspect, maybe two or three things. One, with regards to MPT4, we have, for the first time, a standalone disaster risk management pillar. This is a major advance and is the fruit of collaboration of many of us in this room. Also, and I'll take this opportunity, Your Excellency, Deputy President, in terms of pending items, we have, for almost a decade, the National Bill on Disaster Risk Management that hasn't been passed by Parliament. And this is absolutely critical for us to move, because without it, we run the risk of losing focus and not having the sufficient lever in terms of both political and financial resources to deal with the problems in front of us. Beyond that, UNDP, the UN family, and many of you in this room, I know we are joined in working together on fast-tracking the enabling environment for businesses to flourish, both at national, but more importantly, at county level. And I think one of the things that comes to mind, if you will, some of the things that UNDP, alongside other members of the UN family, are pivoting our programs towards. You know, development has changed, and we have to change with it. And so this inspires maybe the 3 or 4 points I'll put in closing. The first is with regards to decision making. And the reality remains, and I look at CEO Safaricom here as one of the key stakeholders, we are still working for the most part in terms of decision making with insufficient amounts of data informing how decisions are made. And with regards to this, we are working and seeking to forge new partnerships around the use of non-traditional means of data. And here we look at essentially all the dividends of what we call the fourth industrial revolution. How can we deploy artificial intelligence, high-resolution satellite imagery, machine learning, and so on and so forth, to get a multidimensional, much richer sense of how development is moving. As of now, as you know, we rely on instruments that are basically renewed every 3 to 4 years, and that, unfortunately, cannot hold for long. So data and analytics is really the core. And I think both at national level and then at county level, we need to get a better sense of the economic assets we have. I'll give here an example of something with the Food and Agriculture Organization we're looking towards under the lead of Ministry of Agriculture, which is a census of livestock. We haven't got numbers, right? And these are things that are actually within our reach. Secondly, we work on supporting the emergence of a resilient and robust innovation ecosystem. Many of whom, of course, are in this room and are in one way or another linked to large firms. This remains, if you will, the single most powerful repository of skills, of energy, of assets, of intellectual resources. And I think working together with your new administration, Mr. Deputy President, is I think one of the main things we're going to be doing. Last and not least, the issue of sustainability. I think this really belies the crux of the problem, and that's that billions and billions of shillings over years and years leaves us where we are today. And I think here maybe two things, and one that has been mentioned by a number of you is the question of inclusion. Without having the youth around the table, we're really starting, if you will, the race from behind. At UNDP, we work with a number of counties, namely Isiolo and Tana, on something we call youth sounding boards. This is something that a number of our partners, including the European Union and others, have come and said to us, let's see how this works. I reach out to all those of you who want maybe to learn from the modest successes that we've had in this. Beyond that is the story of the region and the continent more broadly. And here again, I look towards Your Excellency, Mr. CS, but also the rest of the colleagues who are on Youth Connect. Youth Connect is a huge opportunity that between October and November next year, we'll see youth from 28 African countries converging in Kenya to look at the fundamentals of job creation. Why? Because we don't have to go very far for solutions. We don't have to go very far for partnerships. I think within the context, for example, of the East African community, we have really important, latent, and real opportunities to exploit. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you.
Mheshimiwa Naibu Rais, mawaziri, viongozi wa biashara na marafiki, hamjambo. My name is Stephen Jackson. I'm the United Nations Resident Coordinator here in Kenya, and it's my great honor to issue a call for action. Let me begin, Your Excellency, by saying that I've visited many parts of the drought-affected region over the last year and a half, but as recently as September, I spent a day and a half driving from far up on the Ethiopian border with Turkana County down to Lodwar, and in that day and a half, I saw not one single live cow, not one. Many dead ones, a few camels, but not very many. So when His Excellency, the President, talks of 2.4, 2.5 million lost livestock at a cost of about $1 billion US, about 100 billion Kenya shillings, I know that he speaks the truth. I spoke with people in Turkana left destitute and on the edge of starvation by this literally unprecedented drought. Your Excellency, there can be no more misleading phrase in the English language than the phrase natural disaster. This is not a natural disaster at all. It's unnatural in at least two ways. Number one, because it is without precedent. It's like nothing we've ever seen before in this part of the world. And it is also unnatural because it is not from nature. It is man-made. It's the direct cause, it's directly caused by the climate emergency, which in turn has been caused by 150 years of energy profligacy and the use of fossil fuels in the industrialized world. So Kenya did not cause this crisis, but Kenya suffers it. And so my first call to action, Your Excellency, we mentioned already COP27, a very powerful message needs to come from this part of the world to the leaders of the industrialized world to say, change your habits. We are suffering what you have done, and we are suffering greatly. Going forward, this region is going to be faced by droughts that are more recurrent, more enduring, and deeper than ever before. They will create an omnipresent threat that menaces the lives and the livelihoods of whole peoples, cultures, and ways of life. And as of now, 5 failed rainy seasons and looking down the barrel of a 6th in March next year, we already have 4.5 million Kenyans within, by the way, 25 million souls across the Horn of Africa whose lives and livelihoods are deeply threatened. Now, for a year and more, the government of Kenya at national and at devolved county level has been working valiantly to meet urgent needs. And I really want to salute the determined leadership of His Excellency President Ruto and you, sir, Your Excellency, the Deputy President. Since coming into office, you have led and led from the front, and that has made an enormous difference already. So, asante sana. I also want to salute the action of international and national partners, some 89 who come together through the Drought Flash Appeal that we launched this time last year. Through that appeal, we've been able to reach about 1 million of those 4.5 million. But you can do the maths, that's less than a quarter of them. Between national government and county government and those 89 partners in the Flash Appeal, we've each been able to mobilize about 20 billion shillings, 20 billion from Kenya government side, 20 billion from international partner side, 40 billion. It's a lot of money, it's not nearly enough. And that's why we come together today, and it's why we turn to 2 additional powerful constituencies, the leadership of Kenya's valiant private sector and to the Kenyan public to issue this call for action. Let me talk about some opportunities before I close with that call for action. There are many ways in which both the private sector and the Kenyan public can engage. You can put your support through us, through the United Nations Flash Appeal that Your Excellency, you and I will relaunch for 2023 in the coming weeks. You can put your support through Pamoja Tuungane, the platform that was launched in April and that we're launching as 2.0 today. You can put your support through local partners, trusted local partners like the Kenyan Red Cross with really strong community links and a proven track record. What kinds of support can you give? As the private sector, if you're giving direct support, I would appeal to you to focus on supporting cash transfer. That's the quickest, cheapest, most efficient, most direct, most dignified, and most accountable way of helping. But you can also, Polesana, you can also think about in-kind support. But if you do, please make it for under-supported need. School supplies, education suffers badly during a drought. Books, school bags, but also things as basic as sanitary towels for girls. And I also want to join with my sister from Rotary Foundation in reminding you about the importance of school feeding. When I was in Turkana, I heard moving testimonies about how important school feeding is as a lifeline, not just to our students, but even beyond them into the communities. Going beyond the immediate need, and my brother, Ndugu Yangu, Tony Gororano from UNDP has already talked about the long-term challenge. We're not just talking about a short-term emergency. We're talking about a turning point in the livelihoods of something like a quarter to a half of the population of Kenya. We have to ask ourselves some very hard existential questions about the sustainability long-term of some traditional forms of livelihood. And we have to find solutions long-term in terms of livelihoods where, as we already said, $1 billion of asset base has simply been wiped out. So I would also invite private sector partners to join in the conversation, a strategic national and international push to create resilient livelihoods in the Asal counties through things like outcome funds on water, on food systems. And I want to just point out, before I begin to wind up with my call for action, a little bit of a paradox. If we look north of the border in Somalia, which has been affected not just by recurrent drought, but also by instability and conflict, over 30 years, Somalia has managed to build an extraordinary livestock export industry to the Gulf and to the Middle East. Why not Kenya? Why can't we do that? So there is opportunity in crisis we can start to reinvent. All of this needs to be well managed, and I would invite the private sector partners around the table to think about establishing some kind of small board or task force to ensure efficiency and accountability in what we launch today. So let me issue my call to action. As always, the beautiful Swahili language has an appropriate proverb, doesn't it always? Ajizi ni nyumba ya njaa. Indecision, inertia, sloth is the house of hunger. So we must be urgent and immediate in our actions. I call today on the private sector to engage beyond small gestures of corporate social responsibility that you can always do. Go further, dig deeper to mobilize real resources and find solutions. I call on the private sector to engage now, urgently, to help us meet these humanitarian needs measured in the tens of billions of Kenya shillings. And I call on the private sector to join with the government of Kenya, with you, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, and with international partners to help find long-term solutions to help Kenya and Kenyans adapt to the harsh realities of this climate emergency. Join in these public-private partnerships that you mentioned, Excellency, such as for the water sector, because beyond anything else, this is a water emergency. Rain-fed agriculture is over. We have to have irrigation-fed agriculture. Focus your energy and expertise on these, on helping realize resilient new livelihoods and opportunities through the green transition. And I call on all Kenyans in the broad public, rich or poor, think of that spirit of Harambee that has always animated Kenyan society to support your brothers and your sisters who are suffering very deeply. And finally, I call on the international community. You've already done a lot, but you need to do much, much more. So support us through the flash appeal for 2023 that Your Excellency, you and I will renew in just a few short weeks. Asanteni.
Working with, and they're all going to be mobilizing the resources from where they stand, the UN side, the Rotary side, and then the private sector side. So let me invite my good friend, Ms. Rebecca Miano, who we have been sitting together in the UN Global Compact Kenya board, and we'll miss her. And we've been sitting in that board with Stephen Jackson, with Flora Mutahi, and a few others who are in the room. But she understands sustainability, so you have got good hands with you. And I think as we're talking about the long term, she will really, really help us to really put this together so that we are not here again. And then after that, she can invite the Deputy President who will make the call of action. And then we'll see if there are a few pockets that would like to add to what you received last week from the private sector, and see if we can top a little bit and continue to encourage. Some will be commitments. Some of the people who are here are already doing a lot, as I said, and I mentioned. But I'm sure there'll be a few willing to say we can top up from what you got last week, and we continue to do that. And it's a 1 year, so we'll keep calling you as we continue to collect more and more together as partners. Karibu, Rebecca.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, my colleague, CS Ababu Namwamba, and all the phenomenal men and women in this room, good morning. Good morning. First, allow me to thank His Excellency for being here, also to thank KEPSA for convening this meeting, and to you all for heeding this call to action on the unfolding drought situation. I took oath of office last week, fully cognizant of the difficult situation our country is facing in view of the prolonged drought situation. I also recognize the valued partnership between the government and the private sector and greatly appreciate your continued contribution to ongoing drought response and the interventions there. Kenya is among the Horn of Africa countries experiencing the worst hunger crisis in over 4 decades. We have already had 4 consecutive failed rain seasons, and as earlier projected, the October rains are already delayed. This will most likely be our 5th failed season. Next year's forecast is also grim and pointing towards a worse situation before it gets better, because it will. Currently, 20 arid and semi-arid land counties and another 45 wards in 9 additional counties are affected by drought. And Your Excellency, the ASAL counties are increasing, but we do hope there will be sustainable solutions and measures to alleviate this so that the whole country does not turn into ASAL. Loss of livelihoods as a result of crop failure, livestock mortalities, and declining livestock market prices, and even high prices of food and other consumer goods are undermining household purchasing power and worsening the food security. This has left more than 4.3 million fellow Kenyans requiring immediate relief, and the number is expected to rise as the situation deteriorates. We have also lost more than 2.5 million livestock as pasture and water become harder to access. Drought risk management, ladies and gentlemen, requires a multi-stakeholder approach. With support of partners, the government has in the last few weeks made concerted efforts to mitigate the effects of drought. However, a lot still needs to be done to meet the needs of the affected population. This includes more than 1 million children below 5 years, the pregnant and lactating women that require treatment for acute malnutrition. Since drought was declared a national disaster in September last year, the national government has spent more than 12 billion shillings to cushion lives and livelihoods. Interventions have been in terms of relief food, emergency relief cash transfers, school feeding programs, cash transfers under the Hunger Safety Net program, water response interventions, and livestock offtake. I know that county governments have also been intervening in areas of food assistance and scale-up of cash transfers. We've also had livestock feeds, vaccination and treatment, water tracking, and rehabilitation of water facilities. We estimate that the private sector and other non-state actors, including development partners, UN agencies, and NGOs, have plugged in a substantial amount of money in various drought response interventions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the worsening drought situation requires us to urgently scale up response interventions to avert widespread distress and suffering. The priority requirements include food and safety nets, and even ready-to-use supplementary and therapeutic food. We also need livestock feeds and offtake of water tracking and other interventions, even in our schools, and even especially the boarding secondary schools and primary schools. As you are aware, last month His Excellency the President flagged off relief food to most affected ASAL counties, I think 10 of them. The government has seen allocated another 900 million shillings for purchase of additional food and distribution in ongoing 29 counties. Conscious of the worsening drought and food security situation, and as part of commitment to cushion affected citizens, the government just last week released an additional 2 billion shillings for priority drought response. The government has established an inclusive coordination mechanism to improve targeting of interventions and ensure synergy and reduce duplication. But as we give humanitarian support, we cannot lose sight of the need for critical medium and long-term measures to reduce vulnerability to drought. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reiterate that the aggregate damage and losses from the drought include private sector losses. This underscores the need for collective and urgent action in addressing the challenges posed by climate change. Now more than ever, we require more private sector investments to reduce drought risk and enhance adaptation to climate change. The government has in the recent past created an enabling environment for investment in ASALs, especially in terms of security and infrastructure, and we will be seeking you out for partnership in priority measures for building long-term resilience. I would like to say that ASALs are a sleeping giant, but sadly, the sleeping giant needs food, the sleeping giant is hungry. But when it wakes up, when it is on its feet again, this is the region that has a lot of promises for this country. It is a region that holds 70% of livestock in this country, 90% of wildlife, all the sources of renewable energy, all the energy minerals, all the rich cultures, and many more. We must support this giant and wake it up for our good. I would like to acknowledge the work the Department of ASALs has been doing, including the NDMA and the colleagues there, people like Marwa, have done a great job. As I finish, Your Excellency, I would like to say, as the saying goes, the Stone Age did not end because we ran out of stones, but we transitioned to better solutions. The same opportunity lies before us in managing drought and managing ASALs. We will stop donations, not because we lack donors, but because we will have sustainable solutions. I will echo as I finish the words of His Excellency the President that we must put measures in place to ensure we never get here again. Finally, I would like to give the example of the energy sector. Many of you recall that the greatest indicator of drought was lack of electricity, but not anymore. I am sure if sustainable solutions were not found, right now we would be having rationing, we would be having outages, little electricity, in addition to all the other challenges. So, Your Excellency, there is hope. I do appreciate that I was given a ministry that is a fuse. It will fuse the youth, water, agriculture, security, everything. We will hold everything together, and God being our helper, there is a lot of hope. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's be upstanding with a better applause to invite our Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Thank you. Please be seated. And those who want to continue studying may continue. It's difficult times. Once again, our development partners and cabinet secretaries present, captains of industry, it's a good morning. Allow me to express our utmost gratitude to the Kenya Kwanza government, to KEPSA and its leadership for the response to the famine situation in the country. You have raised over 114 million under the Pamoja Tuungane initiative for our fellow countrymen and women facing food insecurity in our ASAL counties and elsewhere. This is very commendable. We know over 4.5 million Kenyans currently are in dire need of food and water, and a further 2.5 million livestock have perished. This initiative will save many lives, and for this, on behalf of government, I want to say asante sana. In the long term, I'm informed of KEPSA's conversation with the private sector players in the renewable energy and water sector. The plan is to improve access to water for domestic and agricultural use. Further, the discussions on drought resistance grass aims at contributing to increased animal feed production and source of green energy. This is a welcome move and a step in making Kenya an agricultural hub. I'm happy to note that this initiative will run from October this month, 2022, to March 2023, to mobilize resources for the 4 thematic areas of food, water, cash transfers, and health. I've been tasked with the responsibility to reinforce the call to action, which I hereby do. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is dire. That's the truth. Everywhere we are sending people to distribute food. The smell of dead livestock is now sitting. Children are leaving school. Kenyans are becoming helpless. And I call upon you, please, to dig a little bit deeper in your pockets and see what you can do, so that we have a concerted effort to make sure that no Kenyan, not a single Kenyan, dies from hunger, and children do not abandon school for lack of food. My boss, the president, has tasked me with the responsibility of coordinating the national government, the county government, the development partners, the humanitarian agencies, and the private sector to look for urgent resources and coordinate distribution of food and set the stage for long-term and sustainable interventions in view of the adverse effects of the climate change. I therefore want to invite the private sector to partner with us. I appreciate what you have done, the 114 million. But I must say that is good enough. But the situation we are in, we need money. We need interventions. It will be very sad if a Kenyan died for lack of food when you have some little money somewhere. I know of the efforts that you have made, but I want to urge you very strongly and passionately to do a little bit more, and urgently so. I was telling the chair, the CEO this morning when I came, that where I was born, in a little village called Herega, a village many of you will not know, because it's just down there somewhere in a dusty village. Our late mother, the late mother Krigo, she would go to Karatina market in the morning, and we would wait for her from 2 p.m. Although she used to come around 6, but we would start waiting from 2 p.m. at the gate, because we were sure that when she comes from Karatina market, she would come with some bread or some banana or something. We would wait. Now, I left my house very early in the morning. And I have a family. Please don't let me go back empty-handed. I must go with something. I must go back with something. I have a big family that the president has entrusted on my hands of starving Kenyans across the country. And with this media presence and the online activity, they are where we are here. So they expect that when I live here, I have something for the children. So if there's something you can do today, please do. But along the way, I'm inviting you, CEO Safaricom and everybody else. I need urgently 2 billion shillings from the private sector. The farmers in Nyandarua, the farmers in Kitale, Usian Gishu, Kakamega, Busia, Vihiga, have food, and they are willing to support areas where there is no food. We need some money to compensate them in a small way, because we can't take it for free, because they need to plant for the next season, and we need money to transport that food. And this particular initiative of getting food from counties that have surplus, I will request the private sector to assist us in that aspect. And I would like to ask you to consider urgently to raise some money for us, because the farmers in Nyandarua were saying last night, how can people die and we have food here? Can somebody come and pick it and take it to them? But we also cannot take it for free. We have to give them some little compensation. And I want to urge the county governors of those respective counties to also consider to waive cess payment for food that is being taken to those areas that are in dire need as part of their contribution. I want to urge the leadership of KEPSA to mobilize your members, all of them. I know some have been very active, others have not been very active. It's time for you to get as active at your level. You don't have to give us as much as Safaricom does, because Safaricom is huge. But be as frequent and as willing at your level. Yeah? You know, at your level, but be as frequent and as willing. And when we put your small and medium and big contribution together, we are good to go. So I want to make a very strong and passionate appeal to the private sector this morning on behalf of the people of Kenya. Please, let no Kenya die when you are there. Let our children not leave the classrooms. Please consider and make a contribution. I would propose a situation where the sitting you have requested with the president, I organize it within the next 2 weeks. And when you come with the money to give it to him. I think we are making progress. So, and since I need the money very quickly, I'll hasten the appointment. I'll hasten the appointment. I'm calling upon all the actors in food distribution. We have coordinating teams chaired by the county governors and the county commissioners. Our development partners, international and local, are part of it, to be transparent in the food distribution. Let me say, anybody who diverts food meant for dying people, for hungry people, we may not catch up with you, but you will never know peace in your life. You never know peace. Let every kilogram of rice donated reach those who are supposed to get it. I want to say, so far so good, but in every situation there are people who take advantage of a difficult situation to try to enrich themselves. Let nobody, please, all those at the counties and everywhere else, let's be good people. Let's be nice people. People are sacrificing their money, their food to assist those who are less fortunate and who deserve. It cannot be that you divert that food or cash for your own use. It will be very unfortunate, it's ungodly, it's immoral, it's unethical, it's unacceptable. And I'm sure that those given that responsibility will do the right thing and let every donation reach the beneficiaries. Dr. Stephen and I will very shortly be putting our development partners together in a forum like this one to also talk to them, to appreciate them for the effort done so far, but also to appeal to them that we need a little bit more, and also ask them, just like we have asked the private sector to emulate Safaricom, even among our donor friends, there are those who are a little bit slow and a little bit unwilling. We'll ask them also at their own level to be enthusiastic and to be active and see what they can do for the people of this country and for humanity as well. So I want to conclude by asking the private sector, please do what you can do for us. And I'll compensate you in kind. I'll make sure that government facilitates you to make more money. Because I also must give in something. You know, this situation of, this country, we are hard-working people. We like working. This begging thing is very humiliating. It's not a nice thing. And, I think working together, we must look for long-term sustainable mechanisms to deal with this effect of climate change so that we don't have to be looking for donations every year. But since now we don't have it, let me now just be in that very unfamiliar and very difficult situation of asking for more and more. I'll keep on asking, but I'll give something back in kind. I'll give something back in kind. We'll facilitate you to do business and create wealth, because the only way we can come to you is when you have. If you don't have, we can't come to you. So we also have a responsibility to make sure that you do not only have, but you have more and more. And that we shall do. So with those very many remarks, I want to say it was a beautiful morning. We are happy to engage with you, our young people. Go back and give our regards to your parents and yours, and tell them that we love you and we are taking care of you. And you do your bit by being focused, by concentrating on what is critical and important in your lives, by keeping off bad habits, by keeping off alcohol and drugs. We have a serious problem with the boy child. Admittedly, many parents, by the way, are suffering because of the boy child. Unfortunately, most of you suffer in silence. They suffer in silence. Parents want to hide things. And those are things that CS Ababu and ourselves we are discussing. The boy child. The boy child. The boy child is in trouble. Boy child is under threat. Something must be done. I don't want to say we give too much attention to the girl child because we did the right thing. But just the same attention we give to the girl child, I think it's time we give equal, even more attention to the boy child. So that we'll make progress. So I want to say I'm grateful this morning, and I wish you well. Go and work hard, create wealth, get richer, and so that when we come calling in difficult situations like this one, at least you have something you can give us. Yeah? And I want to tell you, this government is for you guys. Our life revolves around you. Without you, we are not going anywhere, and we know that, by the way. It is so clear in our mind. The president and I and the rest of us are so clear that if we don't engage objectively and continuously with the private sector, we will not make any progress as a country and reviving the economy and turning things around. So you'll be seeing me very often, very often. See you when you don't call me, I'll look for you. I'll look for you. I'll look for you because we must engage and we must make progress together. With those very remarks, may God bless you and may God bless you abundantly. Thank you.
And we all know we are really facing a difficult time. And so yes, in our first call, we raised about 114 million. Our second call by last week, Friday, which some of it you received, in cash was about 104 million, and a lot in kind. And so as we continue with that second call, I think we want to top a little bit of what you received last week, Friday, with a few people who are here. And what I'll ask you, Deputy President, if you don't get tired, if you could just come up here, they'll just shake your hand and just tell you what they're giving, just a little bit. We have a few who are giving in cash over time, and a few who do in kind over time. And this is just to top up with what you received. Then you can total up from last Friday and what you get today a little bit. And then you get many more. Please be seated. I'm sorry. Forgot we are all not standing. If you allow me, because we have to start with the partners. So my partner in this group is Safaricom. So I'll ask Safaricom just to come and greet your hand and tell you what they're committing, at least to start with. And then I'll call a few more. And these are just the few who gave me their names in the morning. If you have not given me, please feel free to come and do it as you come. So I'll just open it. And we just have a few minutes because we really want to wind up in the next 6 minutes. So I'll just do that. Do you want to say?
Your Excellency, you won't go home empty-handed. So I know we've already given quite a lot and will continue to be involved with especially the money transfers, but also supporting the actual food distribution. But we are also now committing an additional 50 million Kenya shillings.
Thank you. Because of interest of time, you'll just tell the Deputy President what you're committing, whether it's in kind or in cash. And you don't have to give anything today. We'll deal with that. Just say it, and then I'll mention it loudly so that we just interest of time. Just come and tell the Deputy President, then I'll mention it. $500,000 from Washuri, Optiven. Thank you very much. I think I had Elgon Kenya at some point. And I may not have I have very few in my list, so feel free to just come in along the trail. And just come, keep coming. If you know you're already in the list, come. If you know you're not on the list and you want to be, just follow through. Elgon Kenya, $500,000. And I hope someone is noting somewhere for me. Education Sector Board of KEPSA. I think the chair is here of the Education Sector Board. The representative. And then I think I have Davies and Shatley, I have Aramax, I'll have KEPSA Management, my little team. 365,000, thank you very much. Davies and Shatley, Aramax, KEPSA Management, Melvin's Tea, Bed Investments, Bayer, Pankaj Foundation, $10 million worth of boreholes from Davies and Shatleaf. Another ton of tea from Melvin's worth 400,000. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aramax. They'll offer transport for everything we raise around the country to these areas. Thank you very much. Bed Investments.
100,000 from Director Engineer Mwangi from himself and his wife and children. Thank you very much. From Zuhura, thank you very much, in charge of our GBV program in Kesa, gender-based violence program. From the young people, the youth are not being left behind. They say they don't hand out. They're already committing 100,000. Protective Security Industry Association from COSMAT, 100,000.
Trinity in fuel, 500,000. Thank you. I think those are the ones I have for this morning. Oh yeah. Oh, my team in the office say they have to show by example. So represent Martha Cheruto. In terms of support, in terms of cash from management, my small team, 120,000 Kenya shillings in cash, and continued coordination of the private sector to contribute. Riley Securities, 200,000 shillings. Thank you very much. I think that's what we have for now. If you top up what you got from the manufacturers. Oh, no. We have one more here.
I'm committing 500,000 from Dow.
From Dow, 500,000. Okay. Oh, I have another one there.
I think we have done well.
Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers, 200,000. Oh, from Manu Chandaria, who had to leave, 6.5 million. And continued work. So I think we have not sent you empty-handed to your children.
I want to thank you, all of you. And musanya hiyo pesa haraka tuongeza 8. Because we need... And we agree some of it should go to the areas they have food, isn't it? So that we have a multiplier effect, si ndio? So saa 8 tukuwe tunaongea, musanya hiyo yote, then tukubaliane. So that things can move, and I'm very, very grateful. I've not gone back home empty-handed. I have something for the millions of children waiting for me. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Thank you.
Now, Your Excellency, we have a photo session with the board members and then the partners. Just 2 photo sessions only.
So board members of KEPSA who are present, we don't have all of them here. We can have a photo, then I'll ask the GC to join in who are here and other leaders, and then the partners, and we are done.
Members of the press and fellow Kenyans, I want to inform you that the Ministry of Health has confirmed the first coronavirus case in Kenya.